What's up, guys? Your King Knight, Vincent Valentine EX Turk. Even though I'm not really feeling like making a video, I should at least make a video just to show off new pieces of the background. Actually, hold up. There's our subject right here. I don't know what's going on with this. Oh, there it is. There it is. This is our subject right here. Maybe I need to put right here. This is our subject right here. The Final Fantasy VII Import Edition. I have that too. But anyways, let's get to the video. We're going to be talking about the differences between the import version of Final Fantasy VII Original and the original PlayStation Western copy. One of the big distinct difference between the import copy and the original copy is Diamond Weapon was the only weapon in the import copy of Final Fantasy VII. The other weapons never existed in the import version. So that's one difference to the import version, besides just subtext and sub and everything. Number two, which should be obvious by now, you can only play the import version of Final Fantasy. You can only play the import version of Final Fantasy VII on Japanese PlayStation 1 or Japanese PlayStation 2 with the Japanese PlayStation 1 memory card. Or if you have a Japanese PS3 that can buy the game on there, or get the PC version on PS4 off the imported version of the PlayStation 4, but mostly you could do all that, but instead of spending that much money, it's best just to save and buy imported PlayStation 1 or imported PlayStation 2 with the imported PlayStation 1 memory card, which costs less money than a PS4 or PS3. So your better option is to do that. The other major differences on the Final Fantasy VII Western versus the import as well. Bosses are a lot harder on the import. Like when you go to unlock Vincent Valentine out of the casket to get him to join your party, it's actually quite opposite. It's actually quite opposite of how you defeat him. Like the blue form is actually the weakest in the import version, as the red part of the Lost Number monster is actually the weakest in the Western copy. But his defense is a lot higher in the import copy, because the import copy is a lot harder, because Japanese people like their games a lot harder, and gaming's a big deal in Japan. So difficulty's up. So if you're looking for an easier Final Fantasy VII, you might want to just play the original copy on the PlayStation 1, or you could go on PS4 and pay $9, get the PC copy with all the god modding cheats, and play through that if you're looking for an easy Final Fantasy VII, because the import won't give you any of that stuff. So yeah, that's a major differences. Also, another major differences in the Final Fantasy VII and the Final Fantasy VII import copy was Aerith's name is Aerith is in the Western copy, and Aerith actually comes from the import copy. The name Aerith actually is translated from the import copy, and that's where the mistranslation is. Such as other characters like Lucretia. Lucretia is in the West copy of Final Fantasy VII and Dirge Cerberus. As in the import, Lucretia's name is actually Lucretia, in the import copy. Just like it is with Aerith and Aerith. Aerith is the import copy original, and Aerith is the Western copy of Final Fantasy VII. Now, everything else kind of plays the same besides higher difficulty. But I think there's a special screen and debug mode, which is only, I think, exclusively in the import, unless you Game Shark the debug mode in the Western copy. But you can only Game Shark it with the original PlayStation 1 and the Game Shark. So, another thing that the import actually has over the original. You know. Now, the PC version for the import, the graphics, they have a version where it's a little bit more updated. It's not too updated, but it's a little more updated graphics. What I'm saying is that the pixels are a little bit better than the Western and the PC versions and the import version. But other than that, the gameplay still plays the same like it does. It's still the same game, just different things for this. Now, since there is no other weapons in the import of Final Fantasy VII, the imported version of Final Fantasy VII, there's no chance of you getting Ultimate Weapon in the imported version because Ultimate Weapon never existed. It was only Diamond Weapon. So, you know, Cloud does not actually get a final weapon, but everybody else does. You know, everybody else gets a final weapon except Cloud. So, Cloud's left with the, you know, you could still get Army Slash from Gold Saucer or when you fight Sephiroth for the final time. But Ultimate Weapon is not Ultimate Weapon is not anywhere near inside the Final Fantasy VII import copy, so you cannot get Ultimate Weapon, you know, without actually Ultimate Weapon existing. So, Diamond Weapon being the only thing that exists, you know, and I don't think anything else is really different besides those things, besides the fact that, you know, they're still carbon copies of each other. The only difference about the different version is the name translations and different kind of stuff and different kind of, you know, stuff. The import is still harder, of course, but, you know, it's still pretty much the same exact game. The only reason why I buy both versions, the original and the import copy, is because I'm such a fan of Final Fantasy VII. I'm such a fan of Final Fantasy VII because Final Fantasy VII's my very first Final Fantasy, as you could tell, you know, from all my posts. You know, you could tell from all my posts that Final Fantasy VII is actually, you know, my very first Final Fantasy, so it's so special. I'm willing to own the import copy, the PC copy. In fact, I hope one day to find a cheap PC Windows copy boxed for my PC, because it means that much to me. That game means a lot to me. So I even own a black label and green label Final Fantasy VII, you know, PlayStation 1 copy. You know, in fact, my black copy is right there. Hold up, right there on top of the Final Fantasy 8 and 9 copy. So you know how big Final Fantasy 7 is to me. You know how big it is to me. So pretty much that's the differences is from what I could tell. Now, there's a difference between the PC and the PlayStation 1 version. The PlayStation 1 version does not come with a god modding mode. You had to actually go and level up by constantly fighting enemies until you get to at least a high enough level to get to the next area in the PlayStation 1 copy. As for the PC copy, which is they put on the PS4, you do get a god modding option where you can get your health back, your limit break back, your other stuff back. You know, which is really good if you want to do speed runs or anything like that, or just stream it just to get to the next area. But if you want to play the game legit, you could do that too. But I guess that's the difference between that. I guess it doesn't really call the difference between the PC, the import and West version, but that's the difference between PC and the PlayStation 1 version, which again. As much as I can just sit here and talk about it, I don't want to put everybody to sleep. But those are the differences. The differences from the Final Fantasy VII PlayStation 1 copy and the West copy, and then the PlayStation 1 import copy. So may the crystal be with you.